started with 1001 Nights and we ended with 1001 Nights, which I think is only fair. What's a hidden cover? That's a hidden cover. Okay, so those are the ones that I have read. I apparently have a thing for Concubines, the book that will forever hold my heart. Hello lovely bookworms, I'm Esmay from Paradise of Pages on Instagram and also on Twitter, and welcome to a new video. Today is going to be a DesertAthon book recommendation. I'm not going to talk too much about every single book because this is quite a big list and I have two sections. The first section is books that I have read, and then I have a section of books that I have yet to read and really want to read. With some of these, there are a couple of sequels that I'm not going to mention because I am currently reading those series. But yeah, let's just dive right into it because I have quite a few, and let's just get into all of the desert books that I love. So let's just start with the elephant in the room, the book that started it all, the book that will forever hold my heart, and that is none other than The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Audier. I love this duology, as you probably know. I'm gonna try not to be a little bit cliche here, but for those of you who don't know, this is a reimagining of Arabian Nights or 1001 Nights, and in this we follow Shazi, and Shazi actually signs up to become the new Khalifa, and the Khalid actually murders all of his wives, so she signs up because her best friend is murdered and she wants revenge, and that's where this starts. This is a enemies to lovers through and through. There are a couple of, I think there should be a couple trigger warnings in here, but I know it's not the best story out there, it's not a book that's for everyone, but this is just something that I hold so close to my heart, and this is definitely where my love for desert reads just started and manifested, and so I can't not include this, of course, so that's the first one. Let's just continue on with the other elephant in the room. I think if you think of me and you think of Desert 5 books, you'll probably name The Wrath and the Dawn, and you will also definitely name this book, and that is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This follows Nari, and Nari basically finds herself in a skirmish and then summons a djinn, and she summons Dara or Daryavush, and that's where her journey to the City of Brass starts. These books are complex, they have a lot of mythology, they have a lot of backstory, the culture is very rich, the way in which the books are handled, it's not the sort of the perfect ending, not everything fits, and I just love the lore and I love how in-depth these books are. I mean, granted, they're very big, all three of them are quite big, so it might not be the best book to read in a month, but it is definitely a recommendation. This is my all-time favorite trilogy, my all-time favorite series ever. This book is so good. I love every single part of it, and it's heartbreaking, beautiful, and honestly I can't wait to reread them. Okay, so let's just continue on to the third book. That's also kind of an elephant in the room. I talk about this one a little bit less than the other two, but definitely one that I also own multiple copies of. One of my copies is actually right here. I don't think you can see it. No, you can't see it. It's like literally here. Alright, little intermission, I'm back. Like I said, it's actually right here, and that book is none other than We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. In this book we follow Severa, who has disguised herself as a male hunter, and she's sent on this mission to basically free her country. And then on the other side we have the Prince of Death, Nazir, who is tasked to kill her, and that's where this starts. This is also together with its sequel, We Free the Stars. We Free the Stars? Yeah. It's We Free the Stars. Sorry, I messed up for a little bit, but it is definitely We Free the Stars. This duology is among one of my absolute favorites as well. It's very in-depth. I love the lore again, the development, the characters, and it's not only the main characters that you start caring for, you care for all of them, and I love it so much. It's beautiful to its core, and I want to reread these two. I absolutely adore them. Okay, so now that we've gotten those three sort of out of the way, because I have quite a few more on this list, let's just yeah, let's just get into this. So the next one is one that I read last year, and I do have to say that this is not a book that is for everyone, but I did enjoy it. It was a little bit cliche at times, but I'm very excited to read its sequel, and that is The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi. This is, I think this is basically about her girl who finds herself cursed. Yeah, Maya is cursed. Marriage of Death. Yeah, that's basically it. I don't want to say too much about this book because it's a very, one, is a very quick read, and two, it's a book that you can easily get yourself sort of lost in, and that's something that I really enjoyed. The thing that really drew me in was the fact that this is definitely about sort of a curse, and it's set in this sort of desert world, and I think this is definitely a book that would be perfect for a readathon because it can fit quite a few prompts, and it is also like, it's quite easy to read. I think I read this in 1 or 2 sittings, and I really think that it is a book that would fit this readathon. I do have to preface this by saying that it wasn't my all-time favorite, but I did really enjoy it, so there's that one. So next up we have a book that is actually a trilogy, and I am kind of tempted to read the final book in this trilogy for DesertAthon, and that is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nagan. This follows a girl who's set in a world where you have different castes, and every different caste is more beast, if that makes sense. I think you had these, what were they called? I think it's a moon caste. Yeah, Lei is part of the paper caste, which is the lowest, and then I think you have another one in the middle, and then you have the moon caste, who's I think on top, and her, basically the king is this moon caste, who's this, basically this brute, and she's basically sent there to be sort of his concubine kind of thing. And this is a female romance, which, fun fact, I did not realize. I was reading this book and then all of a sudden I was like, where's the love interest? And then I was just stupid. I don't read synopsises, and I just read books because sort of the idea appeals to me at some point, and then I forget most of what you know is in the synopsis. Same thing with this, but I did really enjoy it, and the second one I actually sobbed with. I think the first one so far is my favorite, so I'm curious to see what the third one will bring, but definitely a recommendation. It is also quite a easy read, and I think it's like 400-ish pages, and again this can also fit quite a couple of prompts, so that's really nice. So next up we have an oldie but definitely a goodie, and that is Rebel of the Sands by Elwyn Hamilton. This is a trilogy that follows a girl called Amani. That's what it is. It's on the back. It's like, it's literally right in the front, Esmay. We follow Amani, who is set in the town of Dustwalk, I think it's called. Yeah, and she really wants to get out because she's living with what I believe to be her aunt. It's been a while when I read these, and she wants to get out, and then she gets the opportunity to do so, but finds herself in quite a pickle because basically war is brewing, a new dawn, a new desert, and this is like, this one truly screams desert, and I loved it. The second and the third book are a lot more political, so if you're into that, definitely work your way through this one, which is quite smaller than the other two are, and then get to those because they're brilliant. I love them. I think they're very timeless as well, and I think you would absolutely love them. And also look how stunning this is. I was planning to get the hardcovers for these, but only the paperbacks have this very beautiful stunning edition, so I'm sticking to the paperbacks, but yeah, I love these. Okay, so I have 3 more books in this category of books that I've already read, and next up is a standalone, and this is a retelling of Aladdin, of the genie specifically, and that is The Forbidden Wish by Jessica Curry. This follows Zara, I think her name was Zara. Yeah, Zara, and she is the genie, and when Aladdin finds the genie lamp, Zara is the one helping him. I loved this. I loved seeing inside of the sort of the lamp and the myth that surrounds the lamp, and how did the jinn become the jinn, or the genie. I loved it. It was also very deserty. I mean, you know Aladdin, so it's definitely a desert story. I adored this. I read this in 1 sitting. I am very much in for a reread of this, and I loved it. 10 out of 10. I apparently have a thing for concubines because the next book also has concubines, sort of, and that is The 100th Queen. This follows a girl who is in an orphanage, I think she is. Yeah, and her name's Galinda. I forgot about that. Galinda. So she lives in this orphanage, and basically the emperor of this land basically goes around these orphanages finding wives, and Galinda is actually sent to the king to become one of the final queens, the 100th Queen, and she basically has to fight for this title teeth and nail. And in the meantime, a lot of other things happen, and it's just such an interesting story. Again, this is actually a quartet. There's 4 books, and I think the first 3 kind of round it off. I say kinda. And the fourth book was definitely really interesting, and I love these. They're very quick to read as well. I kind of want to reread these again, and I think these would be perfect for the readathon. Okay, so the final one before I get into books that I haven't read yet, and this is a book that needs a little bit of a disclaimer, because this book I loved, the second book not so much. It's a duology. If you've been following me for a while, you probably know what I'm talking about, and that is Markswoman by Ratu Mehrotra. Yeah, and this follows a girl who is a, what are they called, markswoman in the Order of Kali, and when basically her mother, like the mother of this order, dies, she flees for her life because she thinks that sort of the second in command and the one taking over power is the one who killed her, and she thinks that she'll be next. So she runs for her life, and she finds herself in the Order of Kur, I think. Yeah, the Order of Kur, and this is a tribe of marksmen, one of the only ones that are out there. Most of them are markswomen, and that's basically where her story picks up. This is so interesting. There's lots of lore, lots of sort of dreamscape kind of things, and this is definitely a book that I enjoyed reading. There was so much going on. The second book was interesting, but not quite up to par with the first book, in my opinion. I missed a little bit of that sort of oomph that the first book had, so definitely stick to the first one. I mean, you have to read this one before you read the second one anyway, but this one's definitely the best. Okay, so those are the ones that I have read, and then I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I have not read yet, and that I kinda don't know anything about, so bear with me. We're gonna try, and yeah, I'm gonna start with the 2 beastie ones because I have 2 very big ones on this list, and yeah, I'm not so sure that these would fit my month because I have a very busy month. But the first one is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This for me was a Illumicrate edition, and the reason why I'm mentioning this as well is because I feel like a lot of us will probably already own this book, and you might not know that it's a desert read. From what I have sort of grasped from this beautiful book is that this is about a woman who is fighting for her throne. One is a vengeful princess seeking to depose her brother from his throne. The other is a priestess searching for her family. Together they will change the fate of an empire. Yeah, so this is basically about at least from what I've seen, about a struggle for power and a struggle for peace. I think it's really interesting. It's huge, and I think it's part of at least a series. I'm definitely, like, I know that there's going to be a second book for sure, and I think this would be right up my alley. It's a beast of a book, so I haven't really started it yet, but if you are into big books and you have this on your shelf, this is definitely a desert vibe book. So the final beast on this list before we get into a bit smaller ones is The Unbroken by S.L. Clark. Same story with this one with The Jasmine Throne. This is an Illumicrate book. I think this was my first Illumicrate book, or The Jasmine Throne was, because they were actually in months next to each other. And this again is about every empire demands a revolution. So this is the same thing. It's like a struggle for power and a struggle for peace and a struggle for revolution. There's actually, I think it was this one. Yeah, Tasha Suri is literally on the back, who is the author of The Jasmine Throne. And then I think that The Jasmine Throne actually has an essay check for Bordy quote. It does. It's actually the top one. So that's why I was so excited for this one. Quite frankly, I don't know anything about this. I do have to say that if you pick this one, or I think same goes for The Jasmine Throne, it has a hidden cover. I actually got this question on Discord the other day, like, what's a hidden cover? That's a hidden cover. I do have to say that this is probably difficult, so if you own a book that has a hidden cover in some copy of the book, you're good. So if, say for example, you have this book but not with a hidden cover, you can definitely count it because mine has. So there is an edition out there that has a hidden cover. Shall I check if the Jasmine Throne also has a hidden cover? It definitely has a note inside. And a hidden cover. Alright, so those are the two beasts. I will move on because it's quite a list. I'm filming quite long already. So this next one is literally one that I know nothing about. I got this in an Illumicrate box as well as a second book, and that is the Ivory Key. The reason why I'm putting this on this list is, one, look at the cover. If this doesn't scream desert vibes to you, I don't know what will. I think this is the same thing. Like, it is about legacy. I think this has Indian lore in it, but I'm not completely sure about that. I don't want to say anything that's not correct, but I think so. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like this is quite a small book as well, so I think it would be really nice to, you know, get into it. It's really beautiful. Like, it has two beautiful females on the front, and then I think two princes or something on the back. Maybe two princesses and two princes. I'm not sure. It's very beautiful, and I honestly can't wait to tear into this one. This next one is definitely a book that I put on here because of the cover and because of the title, and that is Set Fire to the Gods by Sarah Rush and Kristen Simmons. I mean, it literally has fire on the cover. I think this has to do with gods. Oh, this is actually about gladiators, so it might not be a desert vibe book in the sense of its feeling, but it definitely has like a warm word in the title, like fire, or the cover. Like I said, not every single book in this readathon has to be a desert vibe book. As long as you kind of feel like reading it, it fits the prompt, it's totally fine. I don't know that much about this. The only thing I do know is that I really, really want to read it, so there you have it. I have another Tasha Suri book on this list, and this is actually one that I have started previously and was supposed to read during last year's DesertAthon. Did not happen, but that is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I think this is about a girl who, same thing, like a ruling class Mare is a girl trapped between two cultures. Her father comes from the ruling classes of the empire, but her mother's people were outcasts. So this is another one where sort of the castes are really present, and I think this will also probably follow some type of revolution. This is a duology. I know that for sure because I have the second book as well, and I should really get into it. Also, the title, the cover, everything just screams desert vibe. It doesn't necessarily have to be a desert book sort of in itself, but it can also just look like one, if you know what I mean. We need a little bit of a wine break. We needed that. It's 8 o'clock if you're wondering. Okay, so the second to last one is something with magic as well, and that is Rain the Earth by A.C. Gowan. I've had this on my TBR for quite a couple of times, and I have not started it. I bought it because, well, it appealed to me, and I bought it because it's a desert. It literally says that she's a daughter of the desert and she has magic in her blood. So it's a magic desert book. I kind of don't want to know too much about this one because I want to go into it not blind, but kind of blind. It's a first person, so that's always very nice for me. I love first person. So I really, really want to read this one. It is a duology, I think, as well, because the second one is called Imprison the Sky. And I am quite excited to read this one. Don't know that much. Like I said, it is a book I have not read yet, but I think I can recommend it at least for this readathon. Okay, we're back. So the final book is actually one that I've had in my possession not that long, but it was actually Femke's book before this, and this is a book that I want to read because I've read The Wrath and the Dawn. It may sound a bit weird, but that is 1,000 Nights, and this is another reimagining of Arabian Nights, 1001 Nights. It's beautiful. You can see it best like this, I think. And this is, I think, the same thing, but this time Yeah, he killed 300 girls before he came to my village looking for a wife. When a powerful and dangerous king arrives in the desert to take one of the village girls as his next wife, one girl would stop at nothing to save the life of her sister, even if it means sacrificing herself. So yeah, this is another 1001 Nights story. In this one, I do think that the king is truly not that great. But we'll see. I've been meaning to read this for a long time. I also have the sequel to this standing there on my shelf somewhere. And yeah, I think starting it off with 1001 Nights and then rounding it off with that is also a really good way to go. So this is the final book for this list. I think it does that book honor to put that last, because we started with 1001 Nights and we ended with 1001 Nights, which I think is only fair. So those are quite a couple of recommendations, quite a couple of books. If you have questions about the prompts, or if you have questions about some of the books, then either go to Goodreads and look at some other people's opinions, because I mean, with some of these books I'm definitely colored. But if you have questions whether some type of prompt is in some type of book, please ask me. I'm always open to talk about my favorites. That's definitely fine. I hope that you have a little bit of help now with figuring out a TBR, figuring out a book that you want to read for this readathon. Thank you so much for joining. I want to say Team Elephant all the way. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so you get post notifications every single time that we post. And I hope to see you all in the next one, and I hope to see you all during DesertAthon. Bye! That was very high. Bye.